Greetings, everybody. Amar here, and it's been a while. My enthusiasm level has been in the negative, but luckily I've got a second wind. Now, I just want to talk about there's a book out there. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called Think and Grow Rich, and there's a whole chapter in the book on organized planning. So I made these notes here because these are the things that I want to discuss in this particular video. So, first thing, the flag is where you find it. All right. Now, in the Lottery Master Guide, Gail Howard talks about the flag formation. And the flag formation, by her definition, is basically a 2-5 skip sequence. Now, I call it classic flag formation because you're rarely going to get a 2-5. Now, I highlight my flag formations in pink, like here, because it helps me for them to stick out. Okay. Now you can see here in this particular example, there's a 0-5. So this will be a classic. And here is a 2-6. So 2-6 is not classic, but in the book she does say that watch until skip 6. And I'll have to do a separate video talking about that because a lot of my system is based on that information. Now the problem with the flag formation is that it doesn't always appear in the drawing sense hit chart. Okay, this is like the lotto graph. This is just the plotting of the numbers. Like here is the number 322, and basically it's a plot. So here's 3, and here's 2, and here's 2. So it's a plot. But in this particular example here, you have a flag formation of 0-4, 0-4. Now, when I was first starting playing and trying to apply the flag formation, I would often wait for the skip to go 2-5, and many times it doesn't get to 5. So it does pose a danger if you are just focusing on the 5. So here it came in reverse at 4, and then it went 0-4, 0-4, and now it's 2. So it never actually reached the 5. Now in the flag formation, when you find it, I'm making it a little simpler here. I put it in pink, but I've also circled it in red. So this is a flag formation for the number 0 in the first position. Here is a flag formation for the number 2 in the middle, right? And then over here is a flag formation for position 1 repeating. Now in this particular example, you have 5 dormant periods. In this particular example, you have 3 dormant periods. And in this particular example, there's 8 dormant periods. Now the colors for me tell me exactly what the dormant period is, so I don't have to start counting, and I don't have to actually look at chart number 7, which is the last 50 hit count. So by using this counting of the dormant periods with the colors, I know how many dormant periods are without having to go back in time. And that's why it's powerful, but I have to exactly show you why I'm counting that way. So here's 3 separate flags. Now there's more flags, okay? Here's a flag for doubles. So here's the number, right, 829, and I mark here doubles. This was 331, this is 877, 422. So here you have a flag formation, and you can see there's no 5s. It's basically a hot and hitting, and it's 2-1, 2-3, 2-1. So this, but I colored pink because it's still a flag formation. It could still go 1-5 here. But you didn't. This is a flag formation, and then you have 1 dormant period. A dormant period I'm defining is going over skip 9. So anything 10, 11, 12, and up is a dormant period. And a skip of 11, like here, is 1 dormant period. If it went to 20, it would still be 1 dormant period. So my dormant periods I'm counting, they're independent of how long the skip is. I'm just counting the dormant period. And of course, you can then add that additional element of how long that skip is for utilizing the out average ratio, which is chart 3 in the Gail Howard Advantage Plus. Okay, so these are my sums. Now these are the core sums. I have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to 19. These are my core sums. So here is another flag formation. Now here He had 3, 2, 2, and I was looking here for 2, 6, right? So what happened? It went to 2, 9. So it started cascading out here. So this was a little tricky, right? I wouldn't necessarily would have played this. I would have had to play this on based on other flags, right? So here's a little flag, 3, 0. There's no 5 in there. There's no 2, and basically it just cascades down to 0, 19, 3, 0. Here's another flag here, which I didn't highlight. But I did highlight it here. This is my all sums drawing sense hit chart. And I've highlighted, again, here's sum 14 right here, and here's sum 9. So this is another concept. Again, the flag is where you find it. So I'm finding flag formations elsewhere, not in the drawing sense hit chart. Now there's another flag that popped up. Well, let me just go back to the big here for a second and just do the clean dormant count. All right, so this is 5 dormant periods. Now a clean count is based on this algorithm, the BYGG, right? It is blue, yellow, green, and gray, right? So this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4. So let's look at the 0 because it's interesting. The 0 in the first position had a clean count. Now a clean count of dormant periods is easy to then determine, say, okay, I should play it because it's cold. Now in the Lottery Master Guide, Gail Howard says that cascade is 1, 2, 3 periods, and then the number can get hot, but that doesn't work for the pick 3. It's very rare. It does happen, but it's very rare. And obviously in this case, it didn't happen at all. So let's go back in time with the 0. All right. So here we're going to go back in time to the last flag formation. So the last flag formation was here. Okay. You had 1, 2, 3, 4 hits. Now I didn't color this pink here, but I'm going to color it pink only because pink to me stands out better and I like it. So let me just color it here pink. So this was your last flag formation or your last streak. Okay, and the numbers that came out here, let's just look. This was 080, and then you had here 071, and then here you had 080 again, and then 003. So once you had that streak, you have to reset the dormant count. So here you had a skip of 24. This would be your first dormant period, and here's your blue, right? So the blue, that's from the BYGG. And now you have the second dormant period. Now this is clean because there's no technical corrections. It's just a hit and then the next dormant period. So then you had this one over here. It hit after 44 games. Now you get the yellow. All right, so that's BY 1, 2. And now I'm going to the third dormant period over here. 3 is green. Okay, BYG. And then here is the fourth dormant period. Now you can see this dormant period, this second dormant period is 44. This second dormant period is 14. This one is 11, right? And then what happens is you see now I recycle the colors. So after we go to gray, we're going to go back to blue. But there's going to be a small little bit of adaptation with the blue. And here you had a skip of 42, and here it's blue again. But this time the blue has a white 0 in the middle, right? Well, these all have white zeros, but you see here, like this blue here, and I'm sorry, I just had a little brain fart because I had done a formatting change, and I don't know if I kept it or something. But anyway, because I didn't like these black fills because it uses up a lot of ink, a lot of black ink. So let me go back here. All right, so this is 5. So 5 dormant periods. I say, okay, I know 5. Interesting that 5 is part of the flag formation, 2, 5, and here's a 5 dormant periods, and then you had your streak. Okay, so in this particular instance, I'm not differentiating the length of the skip by saying dormant periods, because I did it one time, made it more complicated. I said, all right, let's say I use a dormant period of 24 skips, right? And then I said, okay, so this is 42 skips, It's approximately 24 times 2, which is 48. So this would be 2 dormant periods. But then it got too confusing. But definitely in this particular example, right? And also I made a little formatting change. Here the longer skips was this dark blue with this white, but I made it to lighter blue, again trying to save ink. So if you do add up all of these skips here, okay, you do a sum, you get a number here, and the sum is 2064. So that was about all the skips. Is that right? Can that be right? That seems like kind of high. I'm not sure. It seems wrong. Yes, it seems wrong. Why would it be so high? But the average is 18. Anyway, that seems wrong. So let's see. Let's find. Yeah, it's got to be wrong because let's say this is 40, and this is 50, and this is 60, and this is 100. That's weird. I don't know why it has that sum so high. Anyway, I digress. A little brain fart there, but you got to notice those things to make sure you don't make errors. So 5 dormant periods. All right. Now, the interesting is that there's no way to be able to tell how many dormant periods is going to pass before a number gets hot. Because in this particular instance, in the middle with this number 2, this is actually 8 dormant periods. Okay, now that's using, now I don't know if I applied the Gail Howard algorithm to this. I'm not going to look back. But if you use the big algorithm, that's the way I'm doing the counting, right? So this would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I'm just recycling the colors so I can get a count on the dormant periods. So this was 8 dormant periods, came in reverse at 4, and then it had a very, very nice flag formation. It had a nice hits, none of these intermediate hits, the yellows. So he had 4, 2, 6, and here's a classic, 2, 5. That would be right out of the Lottery Master Guide. And that particular number that came out on the 2-5 was what? 120. It's a low sum. I'm not really a fan of low sums. So let's see. Let's go back here. Here's another classic flag, 05322. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, sum 7. And if we go over here, where's our sum? Oh, we don't have sum 7. This is only the core sums. I would have to look at the all sums dish to see where we were in that particular instance. But anyway, the point is that the flag formation in this particular instance came out after 8 dormant periods, and then we reset to 1. So basically, that's the big BYGG, okay? But I'm not applying the Gail Howard algorithm to it. The Gail Howard algorithm, it helps with the more convoluted technical correction counting. So in this particular example, for instance, here's 8 dormant periods for the number 8 in position 3. And then here, this is dormant period number 9. So again, I went after the gray, I went back to the blue. But in this particular case, I have the black fill with the blue circle. So the next one would be the next dormant period. If there's not a third hit, the next dormant period will be a colored black fill with a yellow. Now the problem is with the pick 3, you can get as many as well, all right, let me go over here and see. Okay, so let's look at another flag formation that I found. This was in the active 7 pairs. And this is drawing since hit chart. And I have the pairs here. So I actually had to do this all manually. And it was a real pain in the ass, but I got it done. And I want to do it for all the pairs, but basically I've only done for all the 7s. So here I have a little bit of a drawing sense hit chart here. And this is for the pairs. So let me see if I can zoom it into 80. Hopefully it looks a little bit easier to read. So here's 70. Here's your number, 542. Here's your date. Here's your time, and this is basically the draw count. 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, etc. So here's a flag formation. Now in this particular example, I have a problem. Is that after I pass 12 dormant periods, I'm having more and more difficulty rearranging the big colors for the counting. So for instance, if we look at all the counting here, well, here I didn't color it in because I got bored, but here. So here would be 8, right? And then so the next one after the gray is back to blue. It's going to be the black with the blue 0. That's 8. Well, it should be 9. It should have a blue 0 here. So let me bring this over. And home, blue. All right, so this was 9. This is 10. This is 11. This is 12. And then I went here with the white. So this is 13, and then this is 14 with the red. And eventually it's just black because you can't really keep on using the colors. But you could write it in. You could do like, just put ink, put 1 and a 14. So anyway, so here you got a flag formation, right? Came in 6, 0, 2, 4, 2. And so you had a couple of big numbers here. Here was a 077 that came out, and then here was a 067, and then a 047 came out. So this is an interesting flag. So again, flag where you find it, and it was over here with the 70. So I think that this could possibly continue. I'm guessing that the 077 may come back because of the sum 14 flag, and that's over here with the all sum dish 14, sum 14. And the flag is already kind of broken down. So you didn't get a 2-5 or a 2-6 here. You got a 2-9. So it was cascading out, but now you're back in symmetry. So 9-8 is possible, so I have it marked here. And over here also the sum 9, I'm thinking 8-8-4, it'll come back into the flag. So these are the two sums I'm looking for today, for midday drawing, and I believe, what's today? September 26th. So sum 9 and sum 14 is what I'm going for. 077 I'm looking for. So let me go back to the beginning and see. All right, so I showed the clean dormant count over here with the 0. I'm not going to go into the Gail Howard algorithm because that is what I use for other variables, like let's say groups, positional repeater chart. Well, that's what I use for my other pyramid chart. So pyramids galore. We won't do the course sums yet, but pyramids galore is over here. Okay. Now, if you use Advantage Plus, the original DOS programming that you use in DOSBox, there is a chart called K1. Now, K1 in Advantage Plus is very weak and is very, very hard to understand. The only way I think you can understand is you have to print it out and you have to mark it manually with the highlighters, because you can't mark it on the computer unless you use some sort of Adobe software or something like that. It's easier to print it out and do it on paper to see the trends of the numbers moving up and down. But Advantage Plus, the new Delphi software, has K2, and in K2 they have this pyramid chart. Now the pyramid is just basically showing the skips. So this is like a representation of this chart here. So let me just show you here. So if I click on the chart here, it's going to highlight my data. Now I fell behind a little bit in my data. So here you can see that this is where the data is. So this is how long I was kind of in a funk. And so I'm sorry about that, because this 0 was really, I saw this glaring. Now back here on this particular day, this was 701, sum 8. This was September 16. I was looking at the sum 14s, so I had the 707, 725, 716, and 734 over here. And the 077 finally came out over here. So it's a difficulty, because in that same book, Think and Grow Rich with the Organized Planning, there's another chapter on persistence. So just falling off from here to here cost a lot of money, right? Especially when I knew that this 0 in the first position was 5 dormant periods cold, and it was very symmetrical. You had a 4-0-4-0, and since you knew that the 0 was in the front, you knew that you had the 7-7 over here. So you didn't even have to do a combo bet. You could have just done 0-7-7 straight 2 times and then done a 0-7-7 boxed. Now the funny thing is that I did text this to one of my benefactors, Rusty, and And Rusty said he liked the 77X. And I didn't even think to say, well, you know, you should put 077. So he didn't play it, you know, he had other things that his mind was preoccupied with. But anyway, so that's something with persistence. So I made the prediction here. I didn't make a video because again I was in the funk, but you have to be persistent. And so with this second win that I'm getting, I'm hoping to be able to engineer a nice hit for the third quarter of the year. And I'm going to be going on lottery posts and I'm going to be following Lunacy because he has an interesting system and he has his Christmas numbers. But I'm going to break it down and analyze his numbers based on what I'm seeing in my Excel chart because he doesn't really explain what he does. He does a lot of kind of mumbo jumbo, like, you know, kind of like he has his own big that he doesn't explain to anybody. And if you ask him how it is, he's not going to tell you. But he does feed people numbers in secret in the private messages. And how do I know that? Because of Sue. She told me, and when she has a couple hits, she knows. And I try to do a little bit of a anyway, I'm digressing. Okay, pyramids galore. So over here, so what I do is you just drag down this data here to update it. Okay, you can see it moved here when I move the pyramid, when I move the data bar. So this is all right. So let's look at the 0 in the first position. All right. So the way I look at this here, and this chart has 701 hits. You can see the 701. So it's almost one full year. 2 drawings per day, it's 2 virtual years, because if you're treating it like, you know, once per day, it would be 1 year, but this is like 2 years of data, so I think that it's enough. So anyway, let me shrink this here so I can fit it all. If you've lasted this long, I'm impressed, but I'm gonna try to make some of these charts available for free, but again, I have to do the organized planning. It's really difficult. All right, well, now let's not worry about what's on the left. Ah, fuck. Let me see. All right, let me shrink this. Okay, so this blue line here represents skip 10. Now, skip 10 is important because, again, skip 10 is where you start beginning your dormant period count. Once you go over skip 9, you got to start counting dormant periods again if you've had a streak. So the current skip is over here. So here is your dormant periods. You can move this. Oh, the red. I like the red as the current skip. The pink is my flag. So the current skip here is 0. So we're over here. So anyway, so on the big dish, I can count the dormant periods using the colors, but then I can also use the K2 chart here. So here would be 1 dormant period, right? Because here's your previous little streak. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those 4 hits here. So here's 1 dormant period, 2 dormant periods, 3 dormant periods, and 4 dormant periods, and then 5 dormant periods. And these are because the pyramids all go over the line, right? And now you have, this would be your first hit, the skip 42 I think is, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you had 5 hits here. So, but basically you see, the pyramid chart is only useful for looking at long skips, right? Dormant periods, looking at your exhaustions, because you can see the flag here easily. You know that the flag is here. You know that your 2-5 is your classic flag formation. You know that you're going to have Fibonacci sequence numbers of skip 8. That's the cascading out into the intermediate. So here are your flags. Flag, 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 right? So you don't need to use the pyramids for the flag formation because you know your limits of your flag formation. A pure flag formation limit is 6 on the upside. So let's hit this back arrow, make this thing go back. So let's just do an example here. Now, also using the same convention of the big, right? Blue, yellow, green, gray. The blue over here is my 7s because my system, I'm trying to just use the blue is my first starting point. All the numbers you want to focus with the 7 because you start playing too many numbers, you get all crazy. And then the yellow is the mirror of the 7. So 7 and then the 2. So BY. And then the green is the 9. Okay. And that's because the 9 I noticed in the first position has a pretty good cold period count and it's been pretty even. So here you can see 2 dormant periods, skip 24. Now we're going into 3 dormant periods at skip 21. And so let's see, let's get that blue color in. And then the gray is the 4 because that's the mirror of the 9. All right, so the 4 here is in a reverse, so we don't need the pyramid chart for that. So we have, so, and the 0 is not part of my system, but I couldn't ignore it because of the dormant periods. So even without having any other information with the 0 in the first position, I know that the dormant period count is pretty clean. So let's see. So what am I trying to say here? Okay, so if we look at the 7 in the first position, it's a dormant period. So that's a very good number that the pyramids would be useful for. The 9 also here, pyramids is useful. And then, where's the 4? 4, and then the 2. All right, so let's go down and look at the pyramids. Now remember, in the Advantage Plus software, this is chart K2. And so this is 782 hits. So yeah, because it's the same amount of time, but the hits change because you have more pyramids. So these count the pyramids. So this is 782 pyramids, and so if we go to like the 9 here, 782 pyramids also? No, that can't be right. Am I making a mistake here? Okay, I am making a mistake. Anyway, forget that. That was a mistake. It's 782 hits, not pyramids, or 782 drawings. Okay. Anyway, I got a little confused there. Okay, sorry about that. Anyway, let's get back to the pyramids. So we have the 0 here. It's in a flag formation. Let's move this up. The 2 coming in reverse, the 4 coming in reverse, and then you have your mirrors, the 7. So let's look at the 7. So this is skip 19. So we're going to move this over here. This has got the current skip of 19. The 10 we keep there, and then we're going to move the red line up to the 19. The 19 is over here. And here's your, what do they call these things? Whatever they call, you know, this is your, whatever, I can't think of the word. So we're looking to see where you've had similar skips. So here you had a skip here. This is not 19. This is what, 19? This is, what skip is this? Let's see. 21 approximately. Now the thing is, you see, as you go farther back in time, it becomes a little bit harder to see, to make, you know, heads or tails. But it's not 19, and there are no 19s here. This is like, this looks like a 20. So here's your symmetry. Here's your bottom. 19 here. Here's your bottom. Here's your bottom. Here's the bottom. Here a little bit up. But you can see that you can have even longer, you know, very long skips. This is approximately, let's say, 37. This is approximately 45. So once you get into the long skip, it starts to exhaust and becomes dangerous. But it's got some decent symmetry based on this skip and this skip and this skip. But let's look at the number 9 also in the first position. So we're going to drag over our data area here. And now the skip is 21. So I'm going to move this here to 21. The 10 marker, we got to move it up a little bit. I made the dash bars 10, 15, 20, and 25 to make it a little bit different. I probably should make it less thick. So the current skip is here, 21. Again, let's highlight the date, 21. So this would be 21. And then we're looking to see what's the probability it's going to hit at 21. So it looks like it could hit as it approaches this skip here. And this skip is what? I don't know. These are so this is K2 in Advantage gold. And so I can also add data labels, and now you can see here it shows you the skip. So this is actually 42, this looks like it's 30, this looks like it's 30, and then this is 24, 21, and you can see it's hard to read. So if you change the range, if you cut this chart in half, you'll be able to see these numbers better, but you don't go as far back in time. So those are the pyramids. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is 4B core sums. So anyway, so this is a number to look for soon is the 9 and also the 7. And then the, let's see. Oh, sorry, get a little tired. So I'm pretty proficient in Excel, as you can see from this. Now, of course, I didn't actually make this. Somebody made this for me, and this also, I did make this, but I didn't make the active parts. So I tried to make a dashboard, and then I realizing that I'm not as proficient as I thought. I used to think I was 90% proficient in Excel, but then I learned about VBA. So I said, okay, maybe I'm only 70% proficient in Excel. And then I learned about the dashboard. I was like, oh boy, now I'm probably only 50% proficient in Excel. So I tried to make the dashboard using the 4B skips, but I couldn't get it to work. I'll have to maybe pay a course to figure out how I can do that to make this a little bit easier for me. So I tried to do my own dashboard. So this is my own kind of generic no frills dashboard. If you made it this far in the video, you know, I'm impressed, or you're interested, or this stuff seems to make sense. So here's this is the dish, all right? So this is the data. This is the graph. This is here my core sums, because these are the ones I focus on, but you don't want to ignore the extreme sums in the bell curve. So these are the all sums. So these are the all sums here, 0 through 7 and 20 through 27. You can see here sum 19 hit. You had a recent hit with the sum 20. Sum 21, you had a recent hit with the sum 5s. So again, that same concept, the flag is where you find it. You know, you can see the flag formation here with these sums, so you don't have to really worry about what the 4B says. But these long skips, you need to know the 4B because you don't know what the hell was going on over here in the past. So I actually had to run filters for all of these, do the simple subtraction, and then copy the data and paste it. And this is what I came up with. This is my sum dashboard. So here's the sum dashboard. I'll probably do a separate video on this because this one is pretty long, and you probably, if you know, didn't fall asleep or didn't zone out, you didn't get to this point. So what I did here is I took a snipping of this data, and here it is. I put it over here. You can see here is the flags, right? But the 4B only works well for dormant period. So let's look at, for an example of something approaching sidereal. Let's say like sum 17 over here. So sum 17 is at skip 26. Now the reason why I put this in here is so I don't have to switch back and forth between sheets, and I have a reference of where we are in the long skip. So I'm just going to shrink this up here because I don't need it to be that big. I'm going to shrink it. And so basically this here is a 4B. Now this is a 4B just without the 4B abbreviated. Okay, so this chart and technically this chart here, the pyramid chart, have the same data, except this data is in pyramids. It shows all the losing data, and then finally the hit, and then it resets. But this doesn't show the losing data. So this is more powerful. You can get more information in less space. So this is a 4B, and I call this the 4B bar, and this is 4B bar for the sums. And I'm calling it the sum dashboard just because it allows me to find the file, and this is, I want to work towards a dashboard with this. So again, so where are we? So we're looking at sum 17. I'm only going to do one example because this video is getting way too long. So here, skip 26, sum 17. So again, and now this is not automated, so it can, I have noticed I made mistakes. I did fix some of them. If this was automated, let's say with some sort of programming, this would be awesome, and I'm gonna work towards that. So that's a goal that I need to work towards, and to have this like at my website, so you can just click on the sum and you can see it, and you know where you are in the long, in the bird's eye view of the scenario. So this was one dormant period. Skip 15, and now we're in the second dormant period. Obviously here it's a clean count. We're at skip 26. We want to see where is skip 26 in the history of sum 17. And this history again is only going back 205 hits. So I highlight again the graph and then I move over sum 17. You can see here the data changed. So the previous, and this is how I figure out if the chart is up to date. I look at the previous. I make sure that the 15 is on there. I will look at the drawing sensei chart to make sure that I do have the last couple sequences, make sure I didn't make any mistakes. So here we get the 15, and now we're looking at 26. So we're going to shrink this down, and then we're going to right click on this here and add the data labels. So here's my 15. And what do we want to compare it to? We want to compare it to the 26. So then I move the little red marker here to where the 26 would be. Ideally, and let me expand this here just to make it a little bit easier. I'll expand it all the way to the 17. So I look and see where have we had a previous 26, and I try to find, and here's a 26 over here. So there is some sort of symmetry. Certainly it is possible. I like to see if there's a lot of 26s. Are there any more 26s going past? No. And again, this is only about 2 years of data because I can't go back any further. If you go back any further, it just becomes too messy. But you can see here that you had a skip of 92 of sum 17, and then a skip of 92 over here. So in this particular example, going back in time, you could have said, we're getting a 92. Are we going to have symmetry? And this is perfect symmetry. This is like ridiculous. Now you would have had to been very persistent because now a lot of people like to chase along sums. I don't like to do that. And why? Because you could have an exhaustion of a skip of 92. That means you have all these losing games. So even if you do get a hit, you're only recuperating your losses, which you need to do, but you don't want to have any losses in the first place. So back to skip 26. So we have a 26 here. Here's a 27. Here's a 25. Here's a 29. So you know you got to start looking towards the skip 17. No, I'm sorry. You need to look towards the sum 17 because you do have a lot of hits here at 29, 30, 31. But these start going into exhaustion. You can go all the way up to 47, 48, 49. So I would look at 17. But since I prefer the flag formation, I would say I like the 9 and the 14. Now, if I'm going to pick the 17, I look at the mirror. So the mirror of 17 is 17 minus 5. It's going to bring you to sum 12. Where's our sum 12? Sum 12 here is 11. So let's just look at sum 12 is skip 11. So let's look at skip 11 of sum 12. We're going to just highlight and drag the data over here to sum 12. Got to right click again, add the data labels, and then look and see where is skip 11. So 11 is over here. You have an 11 over here, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11, 11. Here's a 12, a 12, 12. So if you're going to look at the 17 exhaustion, you really should look at the mirror. You could do also the mirror the other way. 17 plus 5 goes to 22. 18, 19, 20, 22. And then let's just look really quick at the sum 22. Sum 22 is over here. It says skip 34. So then I drag here. I say, all right, let's look. Where's the sum 22 on the chart of the 4B? So I drag this. I got to figure out what this bar is called. 22, and then you see you have a lot more hits, sorry, I meant to say a lot less hits because it's on the extreme end of the bar bell curve. 22, 34. So then we say, all right, so let's mark where do we have the 34. 34 is over here. Now, if you look, I don't see any 34. Oh, whoop, I do see a 34. So we have a 34, 35, 35, 35. So here's your symmetry and the long skips in the 4B, and that's why you need this chart, because you need to know where you are in the long skips. And generally, I like to go through every single one. Of course, that's time consuming, and you can see I've already done 40 minutes, and I haven't really made a final choice, but you don't want to play too many numbers. It gets too expensive, in my opinion. So numbers to look out for: flags, flag formations, some 9, some 14, maybe some long ones. Keep an eye on the 17, keep an eye on the 12, keep an eye on the 22. And that's because I've structured it based off the 17. So the 12 and the 22 are based off of what I see on the 17. These are my mirrors. And then, yeah, so that's about it. It's a long video. If you like this information, you want to hear more, hit like, subscribe, and I'm going to try to get around to organized planning. Check out that book, Think and Grow Rich. It's really good. It has very, very good elements if you're stuck and you need to try to get out of your rut, and you have a goal and you're having trouble, motivating yourself, and it gives you a lot of core principles, and it's just a very great book, and it's a classic. So Think and Grow Rich, look it up. You could just look up on YouTube. They have audiobooks of it. I do listen to it on YouTube sometime, but I do have a hard copy book. So let's just go in here and see. Go back to the big dish. Let's go up. Let us shrink down to 70. So I covered. Do we want to shrink to 70? We'll go to 80. So it's a little bigger. Well, now let's go to 70. All right, so I covered things I wanted to cover. Took a little longer than I expected. The flag is where you find it. Here's a flag. I'm going to put in the red circles on the flags, okay, to make them easier to see. There's one over here. There's one over here. Clean dormant count. Covered that with the number 0. 4B core sums. We looked at that with the sum dashboard. And then the last thing was pyramids galore. We looked at that. That is the how to look at the long skips on the drawing sense hit chart. So that's about it. And the number we're going to look for is 707 to come back, or actually 077. So we'll see. That's a sum 14, and then a sum 9 would be, let's say, 702 or 711. There's only 2 numbers with sum 9 with the 7. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Good luck and happy number hunting.